Hello, I'm Kevin Church, and this month for December 2022, our MUFIC Songwriter of the Month is Curt Watts. Curt, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, Kevin, how you doing?
Great, good to meet you.
You too.
Heard a lot of great things.
Well, thank you.
So, tell our listeners or viewers, if you will, about your musical influences. Did you come from a musical family?
Yeah, so I've been told, and always, all my whole life, my great grandparents played in the London Philharmonic Orchestra.
That's amazing.
So they were both violin players and songwriters, and of course, songwriting with no lyrics. And I have other family, the Clarks. And if you look back in history, 50 to 100 years ago, you'll see some famous Clarks that wrote, classical music. And that's, part of my family lineage. But, immediate family in my household, all my brothers play. All my brothers play. And I'm the youngest of six brothers. So we had in our immediate household, when I was old enough to think about it, about 6, 7 years old, my brother Steve was probably my first guitar hero. And so Stevie played guitar, and I just thought what he was doing was cool. And I said, well, I want a guitar. I'm not so sure I actually asked for a guitar.
Okay.
But I either asked for it or it was just the parents were going to buy me a guitar, and they bought my brother a drum. My closest brother in age, Doug. And, 76 from there, Stevie taught me the guitar boogie. And so I started ripping that up, and I just thought that was cool. And then Steve, gave me lessons probably the first year or two. And then I started taking professional lessons. And from then, really almost instantly, we had a brothers band, the Watts brothers.
Nice.
Steve Blair and the Strangers. And from that age, we started, working on, learning all my parents' favorite songs, the Beatles, Elvis, Wayne Fontaine and the Mindbenders and all the, the stuff from the late 50s and through the 60s. And so we had a little brothers band. We would practice all the time. We all took lessons and to try to, hone our craft. And Stevie was kind of the band leader, the band director. And I think at that time, Stevie was already writing songs. He's got a catalog that, almost matches Lennon McCartney as far as how many songs he's written.
Wow.
But then, other influences started to peek in beyond the mom and dad's influences. But we kind of went from being a little 50s brothers band into being a outlaw country band.
All right.
And so we kind of adopted the outlaw country in the early 80s, and we played a lot of shows together. So I was like 11. And,
wow.
And the brothers and I are hauling stages around our town to the beaches, to the festivals, to the July 4th picnics. And we were like the band that would get hired or play for free. And but we had a big setup. We had a big, stage, lights and sound system. And we would play all these things. And we were like the country band. And
wow.
Then, kind of morphed from there into other bands and fast forward to now.
Incredible. So how did that play into your songwriting? When did you start? When would you say you wrote your first song?
So
in that time frame?
Yeah, say we were doing those shows early 80s and I was 11. I probably didn't write my first song till I was about 13.
Okay.
And at that time, it was 1983, 84. Stevie Ray Vaughan came on the scene,
Mm-hmm.
and I was heavily influenced by the blues. And I'd known about the blues and seen the blues and dabbled the blues. But when Stevie Ray Vaughan put that guitar on and I heard it, that was the end of it. I wanted to be Stevie Ray Vaughan. And so I immediately went and researched his influences,
Okay.
Which is way beyond Jimi Hendrix, obviously. And I think that's when I first wrote, I wrote a series of blues songs and, played them, didn't really play them live, but played them to myself in my room and thought they were cool and stuffed them in a little envelope.
Okay.
And that was the beginning of what I may have today as my catalog.
Okay. When you talk about a catalog, what are we talking here? You've written several songs. You've done albums. I take it like you've done your own, like performed your own songs, like put them out on some kind of product.
Yeah. So since then, 13 to now, maybe a 40 year span. I started counting last night because I knew I was coming here today, and I'm about 100 songs in, and probably maybe 50 of those are a complete idea, and
Right.
maybe 50 of those are partials, need a little bit of work, and I like the fact I went through them last night because I actually then reorganized them and say, okay, I'm going to work on this one because this could be good,
Yeah.
or
That's awesome.
or I'd like to put this on an upcoming project,
Sure.
with either the brothers or a band I played with before, which was a brother plus a bass player, Sacred Onion. We recorded 2 albums in the 90s and released them and had a little bit of a distribution deal. We sold several thousand albums between a couple different projects and toured quite extensively throughout New England, a little bit outside of New England. And that was all original. And we opened up for some, notable bands at the time that was, all our original music. And it was really cool experience to be able to play your music
Right.
to a crowd that was there to see somebody else.
Like who? Who'd you say you opened for?
So probably the one I enjoyed the most was in Castleberry, Florida. We opened up for Jay Giles and Magic Dick.
Nice.
Which was the Jay Giles band,
Right.
reformed into a blues band.
Nice.
And, Jay Giles was the sweetest man you ever met. Got to chat with him for a minute. Magic Dick, we didn't talk to him. We heard him grunt a couple times. He wasn't really pleasant to a band opening up for them, right? So they gave me like this little triangle I stood in. I bet you it was 3 square feet. We couldn't move any gear. If you've opened up for other people, you know that you just have to conform to whatever. And Doug had to set up his drum set in front of their drum set, which is kind of typical.
Right.
My bass player had his 4 or 5 square feet over here. We weren't allowed a sound check to change monitors or anything. It was a 500 seat venue. So small enough that, it was local sound people, and it was, run by, vendors that were subcontracted in, but large enough that, hey, we had 500 people. It was packed.
Yeah.
And I had my little triangle, and we, from note one, we tore the house down, and these people were screaming. And at the end of our show, we walked around, sold CDs. Some people had a sign. We felt like rock stars. It was pretty cool. And then when we were still walking around selling CDs and signing autographs, when Magic Dick and the guys came on, and they're a blues band. And so, we're like, kind of rock funk with a blues edge, but energy peaking the meter.
Right. Right.
And when they came on, they were like, da-dunk, 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 and just the energy in the room just kind of came way on down because we had them fired up. So that was like our 25, 30 minutes of fame.
I love it.
We opened up for a few others, but that was probably my favorite.
That's cool. That is very cool. So some of our viewers are aspiring songwriters, and they want to know, I think, more about process so they can adapt maybe or learn or use anything that we offer, or maybe one day they'll be on the show and share with us how they do it. What we like to ask is, you being a very fluent guitar player, do you find yourself riffing and writing, or words come in first, the idea? How do you go about your process when you're writing these songs?
I like that riffing and writing. That's pretty cool. I think it's a little bit of both. And I think, I don't know whether I'd have to kind of analyze whether it's the type of song. But I'll be driving down the road and have a great idea, but it'll be lyrics. It'll be, something I heard on the radio, whether it be a talk thing or another song. Steve Miller's famous for, and I'm sure many other songwriters are, but he'll pull a line out of one song and use it in another song. You hear it over and over. I found myself guilty of that without even knowing it.
Right.
And then I noticed it in his music. But I'll hear something, I'll read something, whether it be the newspaper or a book or something gives me the idea, but it's just a line, and I'll write that line down. And if you're already occupied and you can't really focus on it, you might put that aside. Other times I'll think of a riff. A riff comes in my mind and I go, geez, I've never heard anybody really play it that way before. let me take that riff. And I've had songs that I had the lyric, maybe one line years before, a riff years later, and then I married the two.
Yeah.
So, but as far as lyrics go, I've found that if it's not coming to me as an individual, if it's not coming to me fast, I'll usually shelve it for a bit.
Sure.
I find that if it becomes a struggle, it's kind of be a contrived piece of a bunch of words together. And maybe my stuff's a bunch of words anyway. I mean, it ultimately is a bunch of words, but I think the ones that come easy and that you can, almost complete in one sitting are probably the best organized, the best cohesive as a story.
Yes.
And I think that it's not bad to just shelve it if you need to. Just never throw anything away. Don't crumple it up and throw it in the trash. If I had to give any advice, and I think it was the Eagles and Jackson Browne, one of them threw the song away. The other guy, they were roommates. It was Jackson Browne and Don Henley or something like that. The other guy pulled it out and said, "Hey, this isn't bad. Can I finish it?"
Yeah.
And it became a hit song, right?
Yeah, take it easy.
So I say to any songwriter, and I'm still so enthusiastic. I've never become famous. I'm not known as a songwriter in Nashville. I'm not a Chris Stapleton. However, I'm really enthusiastic about writing still after trying to do it and I think that's the thing is it's one of those like doctor's practice. We're just practicing writing, continue to write and get your stuff out there any way you can, but always save whatever you write. Just never throw it away because you can work on it again.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And I totally agree with that. So, I guess this is the point now where I say, well, what song are you going to play for us today?
Well, I think I might play Stormy Weather.
Okay. Tell us about Stormy Weather.
So I'm not so sure. Stormy Weather was probably just an inspiration. And that's kind of how I look at the songs I write, especially. They're probably just an inspiration. They start as a fact, maybe something that happened, or like I said, something I read or heard. And then I put a lot of fiction around it. And ultimately, you got to have some words. You got to have a form. But I really like to leave it up to a listener to hear what I've written and have them interpret it the way they want. So I don't think really a meaning behind this. I'd like our viewers to just whatever they feel, and they can interpret, what they think about the song.
Well, we're looking forward to playing on it. We have Karen Egan with us today.
Excellent.
And thanks for coming on our program. We're glad to have you.
I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you, Kev.
Curt Watts, everyone.
Good?
Yeah.
You ready? Change. Stormy weather feels the same. Look out my window just to see that stormy weather coming down on me. Stormy weather. Stormy weather. I get that feeling deep inside my soul, a stronger feeling, never growing old. I'm tripping on my head, Lord, I feel the same. Just searching for myself so I can feel again. Stormy weather. Weather. If all we are is what we are, I try to be a shining star. head down that lonesome road. I see the people whose hands I do hold. The sun is shining over me. I don't know where I am, but I'm where I want to be. Stormy weather, stormy weather. Sun's always shining in my heart. Even when I feel like I'm falling apart, try to keep myself out of the rain. Don't let that stormy weather bring me down again. Stormy weather, stormy weather. Sometimes I feel there's gonna be a change, but everything seems to stay the same. The sun is shining and I'm coming home. Dark clouds are rolling in and again I'm on my own. Stormy weather will never change. Stormy weather will be the same. Look out my window just to see that stormy weather coming down on me. Stormy weather, stormy weather, stormy weather, stormy weather.
MUFIC sets you free.